anything that is already fed to the internet, pretty much. If it's out there, it can correlate it in at light speed. The engines of AI, man, it's something miraculous. We think that the internet did something to society. Wait until you see the true impact continue to roll out of AI. But anyway, different conversation. Yet still, the way that AI works today, in like let's say a chat GPT, sometimes it is suspect to how smart the person is, or at least the way you formulate the question. Okay. I've asked chat GPT or Google things and then I had to reiterate, and it's like, oh, okay, I got you. You see what I'm saying? At the end of the day, it's not a human necessarily. All right. It's smart. It knows a lot. I tell Chat GPT thank you, just in case that nigga get pissed off at me. Like, here's the question that I asked. What is the difference between a criminal charge, for example, RICO or possession of firearms, versus an overt act in a RICO, such as texting about drug sales? I'm gonna read it one more again, and I'm gonna tell you why I asked the question. What is the difference between a criminal charge, for example, like a count, that firearm in possession by a felon, or RICO? Example, RICO or possession of firearms versus an overt act in a RICO, such as texting about drug sales. Because I don't have to have a account about me texting about these drugs and this weed and blah, blah. Yo, I got this. Don't worry about it. I just need niggas, the shit that they got them on these DMs and whatnot. What's the difference? Let's all be humble. Too many people acting like they know everything for sure. I've seen things that I disagree with 1090 Jake. I've seen Whack 100 flat out be wrong multiple times. I see people that be having too much ego to revert back and say, oh shit, I misread that or I misunderstood that. It's across the board. And I'm not subject to being perfect neither. But I think that's a very valid question in the midst of all the narratives. So I asked it. The answer now. Great. Thank you, ChatGPT. Great question. It gets to the heart of how federal conspiracy laws, especially under RICO, work. Anybody could have done this, but some of you are watching right fucking now, like, okay, let me see. But everybody has an opinion already, but nobody actually goes and does their own due diligence. You just wait for a podcaster to speak on it, but then you're going to get mad and say, you're not even a gangster. Why are you speaking on it? Why are you not fucking researching it? Why do you need me to research it for you, motherfucker? Anyway. The key difference: criminal charges like RICO or firearm possession, these are formal accusations that someone has violated a specific federal law. If you're charged, you're facing potential conviction and sentencing for that crime. Sentencing as well for that, if that's what we're talking about, criminal charges. Overt acts in a RICO case, like texting about drug sales. These are actions taken in furtherance of the conspiracy, used to prove that the conspiracy was real and that the people were actively working towards its goals. They are not charges by themselves, but they support the main RICO charge. Okay? Don't worry, this is going to take a little small spin for some of y'all. Brace yourself. Let's break it down, ChatGPT says. What it is: criminal charge, a specific crime the person is being prosecuted for, versus overt act, a supporting action that shows the conspiracy was active. Okay. That's why I said before, man, when they created that RICO shit, it was definitely going to crumble the mafia. It's how do you get around it? This is why everybody cops out to the fucking RICO. And so few people beat it. This motherfucker is designed to, you talk about play fair. No, life ain't fair when they created the RICO. I'm telling you, boy. Example: possession of a firearm by a felon or RICO conspiracy, that's under the criminal charge. Overt act: texted a co-conspirator about a drug drop on 314. Okay. Can you go to prison for it? As far as the count or the criminal charge, yes, if convicted. As far as the overt act, not by itself. only if tied to a larger conspiracy or charged crime. I admit, people, I ain't perfect. That's great to me. I'm not sure how to interpret that because I can say only if tied to a larger conspiracy. Well, the larger conspiracy is obviously the Rico, or tied to it, or charged crime. Well, in Surf's case, it's not a charged crime as far as the shit that Warden got hit with when you talk about the gun, but they're all under the Rico. So that's left up to interpretation for people. And I think I got an answer for it that's going to make a lot of sense for y'all by the time we get to the end of this. But I don't want to play perfect on that. Okay. DW, help me out. DM me, G. As far as appears as a count in the indictment, yes. Count as felon in possession of firearm, but when it comes to an overt act, no. Appears as a part of the narrative under the RICO or conspiracy. That should be very clear for y'all. Okay? Very, very clear for y'all. We're just learning the difference between a count and an overt act. Okay? Used to prove that the defendant committed a standalone crime. Yep. The other one, the overt act, used to prove that the RICO conspiracy existed and was being carried out. And we saw that table when we got to count one, the RICO, it was for everybody, all 10 of the motherfuckers. That's why I brought that particular one up. Okay. Now, ChatGPT is going in on this one. Real example simplified. Let's say a RICO indictment involves a gang leading drugs and committing violence. Count one, RICO conspiracy, all defendants are charged. Wow, damn, didn't we see that in the paperwork that we brought up? Count two, possession of a firearm in furtherance of a drug crime. Only some are charged. In Surf's case and in Warden's case, only some actually are them as individuals. Okay? Then under count one, RICO, you'll see a section like overt act 12. It's true. ChatGPT, you guys, you know your shit. We only saw the overt acts under the RICO, the count one shit. Overt Act 12, for example, on or about May 2nd, 2021, defendant A text defendant B, bring the works to 155th. Or, hey, yo, give me the cause. We about to spin for homie that got a situation. Real life in the indictment. They're using those overt acts to create the narrative of why they grabbed them all together in the RICO. All right. That text is not charged on its own, but it's used as evidence that the gang was actively working together. Defendant A was knowingly participating. The conspiracy involved real world activity. All RICO shit, all the same act that they all are under, all 10 of them. Okay, summary. Criminal charge, a crime you're being directly accused of. Overt act equals a supporting action that helps prove the crime, especially in a conspiracy or RICO context. Think of charges as the fire and the overt act as the smoke, not the crime itself, but proof that the crime is happening. Okay. Let me know if you want me to break down it. Thank you, ChatGPT. It offers me more. Now, you know what question I had next. If you're really doing as much due diligence as possible, you know what question I asked next, right? Because I know that there's people that's out there that's going to say, ARP, you're right because of this, or ARP, you're wrong because of this, or why didn't you ask this, or you skipped this, or you didn't do that. Due diligence, I'm doing my best. Doing my best. So what was my follow-up question to the almighty iRobot? I asked, if I plead out to my count one of RICO and count two of illegal firearm possession, real world example, right? Can the overt acts that I am accused of harm a co-defendant's defense in their RICO charge or independent count of a different crime, such as assault? That is a perfect question, ARP. Like I said, AI is only as smart as the person that's using it. And I ain't trying to be full of myself. I'm just saying, we got to cover that base. You have to. ChatGPT comes back and says, yes. If you plead guilty to count one RICO and count two firearm possession, the overt acts you're admitting to, even implicitly, can be used against your co-defendants, particularly in a RICO case or any conspiracy-related prosecution. Duh. As they damn near putting it out, right? Count 2 firearm possession. Now, hopefully nobody else is on that or sharing in it, right? But now goes further. Let's break it down clearer or clearly. Pleading guilty equals admitting facts. When you plead out, you usually sign a plea agreement and or give factual basis in court, often in writing or in verbal, was that soliloquy, that word? With the judge, where you admit to certain actions. Even if the overt acts aren't charged as separate crimes, which they were not, your admissions confirm that the enterprise existed, prove certain acts were committed in furtherance of that enterprise, show you're a knowing participation or participant. 2, can this affect co-defendants? Yes, in several ways. Co-conspirators' liability. In a RICO or conspiracy case, any act done by one member in furtherance, that's under the RICO stuff, the overt acts, in furtherance of the conspiracy can be used against other members, even if they didn't do it themselves. So if you plead guilty to count 1 RICO conspiracy and your plea acculates or whatever, allocates, did they mispronounce? I don't know, whatever that is, to say texting someone to arrange a drug delivery or helping with transportation for a shooting, which is what the government put as overt acts, for example, under their RICO, then that can be used to tie the conspiracy together for your co-defendants. B, your statements could come in at trial under rules of evidence. Federal Rule Evidence 801D2E. Statements made by a co-conspirator during the furtherance of the conspiracy are not hearsay and can be admissible. Not hearsay. So even if you don't testify, certain things you said during the conspiracy might still be admissible against others. If you do cooperate or testify, your entire plea and statements can be used to strengthen the government's case against others. Overt acts might connect you to someone else's count. Overt acts versus count is something we've been separating this whole time. But overt acts might connect you to someone else's count, it says. Even if your co-defendant is charged with assault and you weren't charged with that act, if the government can show your actions helped enable that assault, for example, drove someone to the scene, supplied the weapon, helped cover it up, or the RICO conspiracy actions are part of the same pattern, then your overt acts, even admitted in your own plea, may indirectly support their prosecution. Important. What if you're trying not to harm others? If in hopefully any co-defendant's case, right? If you're trying to take a plea without affecting co-defendants, you can, 1, negotiate a non-cooperating plea. I didn't see whether it was non or cooperating, either one, when we pulled up the pleas, either one. So I don't know. A non-cooperating plea. Your lawyer can try to craft a plea deal that limits what you admit to and avoids naming others. I didn't see any names in Surf or Warner's paperwork, to be honest, right? Sometimes the government will agree not to use your plea against co-defendants if you don't testify. Back to that first one, I think that is important. Because even when we saw the actual court minutes of the reading of, do you admit to and being involved in rolling 60s, yada, 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 yes, ma'am, right? And then when they got the co-conspirator, that's not a name, right? There's multiple co-conspirators all over the place. So I don't know. I can't beat that dead horse right there. Avoid, what is that word, people? Allocuting, whatever. To group actions. The court still needs a factual basis for the plea, but your lawyer can often tailor it to your individual conduct. However, you can't always control how prosecutors use your plea or public court records, especially if overt acts are clearly laid out. Okay. Summary. Yes, your plea and associated overt acts can be used to hurt a co-defendant's defense, especially in a RICO or conspiracy-based case. The government can use your admissions to link the conspiracy, prove acts occurred, and show shared intent. You may have some control over how much is said, but not full control once it's on record. And ask me if I want more. Okay, big screen. Hey, shout out to all you gangsters and street niggas and ex-felons and cons that didn't say 10% of this shit on today's stream. I'm the law-abiding tax-paying citizen. I didn't hear 5% of this detail or description from none of you motherfuckers. Like when I listen to whack shit, it's contradicted in what we just read. But anyway, this is why you have to do your own due diligence. Because even all the shit that I pulled up off of both of those dockets from warden and serfs that I deem relevant, because I only pulled up like 6 entries or 7 entries per warden and serf, but their dockets probably have at least 20 entries each. So that's what I thought was relevant. The plea, the sentencing, the bail denial, the warrant, the charging. You know what I'm saying? Like I deem that stuff relevant to prove all the way towards the end goal of what we read right there, right? Somebody else could feel different. Do you want my conclusion now? My conclusion is, when we look at the paperwork that I went through for both of those two guys, it does a lot of clearing of serf being good. Okay? It does. The actual breakdown that we read, though, as far as can an overt act hurt your co-defendants, we read what we read for the last 10 minutes, that last like 10-minute piece. We read what we read. So what I say about that piece that we read, I say the paperwork means to me, serf, you're good. You only, though, continue to remain good on 2 ifs. Number 1, if your plea didn't hurt somebody else from fighting the RICO if they chose to. It's very important when we see everybody on that RICO, but everybody else with their own individual accounts, because when we heard some of the internet buzz and we're talking about the drug running, the overt act that he yes ma'am to and everything, but he doesn't have that as a count. And I read the indictment. I said, hold on, his shit is a gun or 2 guns. Like, hold on. It's clear until you really, really do the due diligence. It's not simple until you do the fucking due diligence. The fucking lawyers and the judge call it a complex case. You got to read. No, none of us are right until you do all of this. And even still, I may not be 100% wrong. I'm a real nigga that can say that. It's complex. It is. And he is getting some of the battle rap discretion from me right now. As far as like, yo, just make it easy. Like, I don't want to make it easy because when I said, let me pay attention to this shit. Y'all already all on my channel, all these fucking views reading this shit. Let me try to give it. Anyway, let me close out what I was saying. That if any of those 9 co-defendants said, I'm trying to fight the RICO count that what we're hearing, they all wanted to cop out to collectively, then yeah, you saying the RICO this and the rolling 60 that, well, yeah, that hurts me. Yeah, I got to stand on that. We all do. Everybody. Or else you're being fake. You have to stand on that. That's like night and day. Okay? I argued that to somebody the other night that gave me like the bank robbery shit. If I'm being stubborn because they got us bareface on footage and in fucking DNA evidence and all that type of shit, and I want to fight because I know a L is at stake for me. I'm a 2-time felon, and I'm caught doing bank robbery before and all that type of shit. I'm fighting, and you go in there and say, listen, nah, I'm copping out, but you hurt me, and I got a problem with you then, right? So you gotta, when we go through the paperwork, this is why my first stream was the way it was when I said Sue Surf is not a snitch, because when you target the individualized counts, They all got their own shit. Nobody's involved in Surf strap shit. That's his actual count. Okay. The first one of Rico, all of them are together. If they all wanted to cop out to Rico, then Surf's plea does not hurt them. I don't know that if. We saw the DM come out allegedly from the guy Stamps. He's saying, nah, we good. I'll take that as good then. Because if you have a Cody that comes out, and that leads me to the second one. You really do need a Young Thug to come out and say, no, the devil is in the detail. The docket doesn't show everything either to keep it 1,000. It doesn't. Because the docket is the formality of the legal process of had a court session, went, deemed myself guilty, not guilty, made my plea, a motion to sever from the rest of the co-defendants. That's all the legal formalities on the docket. You want to know what I mean by devil in the detail? The devil in the detail is Brian Steele coming back to my holding cell and talking to me and saying, yo, man, I just got word that Gunna's about to plea. And I'm telling you now, if he's going to say that YSL is a gang, the way that I was going to fight this shit for you was saying that YSL is only a record label. So we're going to have to go around that. And Thug goes, word? All right, man, I trust you. Let's do it. And then he comes home and he has the backing to actually have a problem with Gunna. He does. So it's two factors for me, people. One, if anybody wants to fight the Rico and Surf is pleading out to it, we just read it. Fuck my opinion. They can be hurt. Even if Surf's not trying to, even if the lawyers concocted a certain way, it even said the prosecution can still use it a certain way. You could even get the non whatever type of plea where you don't name other people and all that type of shit. And it said the prosecution still could take that, bring that into court and say, okay, now for you, I'm saying this over here that happened over there and was copped out to. That's the black and white that we read. So if you are of the understanding that everybody wanted to take the Rico charge and cop out to it, Surf is good. The other one is somebody got to come out on some devil in the detail shit. That's not a part of the docket that we walk through and say, no. That affected me. If that don't happen for those two things, then you have 3 reasons why Surf is good. And really it is that lined up on accident. It really is 3 strikes on that one. The paperwork, you're good on that. That I read. The Rico, if everybody charged wants that to accept the Rico because it's such a high conviction rate, you're good on that. No co-defendants say devil in the detail. You came out, and when you did that, I had to then dance around it. Nobody says that. No co-defendants take that stance. You're good on that too. It's not 3 strikes. It's 3 home runs. And then you got to leave it alone. Tell me about you need a fucking person on a Rico shit because nobody broke it down better than me.